on my right. Time is all around me. Time is all beside. Ain't no Beatles, ain't no Rolling Stone. I'm just a regular boogie brother, home sweet Oklahoma.
Hey, good to meet you.
Hi, everyone. We're ready to get started. It's Carol Levy. I'm the president of the Venice Heritage Museum. Jesse Ed Davis's era of music was the soundtrack of my youth, so it's my happy place. I'm super excited for this event tonight. I want to thank, first of all, our City Council Office CD11 for supporting this event and for introducing us to Doug Miller and Steve Jenkins from the Bob Dylan Center so that we could make this event happen. I also want to thank all of the musicians who are participating, and I'm sorry, I have to read because I'm too old to remember, I'll forget something. Scott McCoy, Elliot Easton, Van Dyke Parks, Bob Glaub, Mark Shark, and the band Blackbird, who were amazing. Thank you all for being here tonight, especially those of you who've never been here before and never come to any of our events. The Venice Heritage Museum, like Venice itself, has a calendar of diverse and interesting programming. We hope you'll come back and not just come tonight. It is a nonprofit, and because it's a nonprofit, we're able to offer free programming most of the time. Being a nonprofit doesn't mean that it's without cost, of course. And behind every program, there is a team, there is a location, there is collections, other expenses, and we support that. We're able to offer it for free to those who aren't able to afford to come in otherwise, through the support of individuals. So I want to ask each of you, if you're able to dig into your pockets or your virtual pockets this evening and give what you can, which will enable us to continue offering a rich and ongoing calendar of fantastic programming. Let's see, what am I forgetting? Thank you for being a part of tonight. I wanted to tell you that the tacos and the ice cream will be here till 7:30 or 8. Please feel free during the programming to get up and get something to eat. There's 2 bathrooms inside. And I just want to introduce now Doug Miller, who is an extremely cool guy and the author of Washita Love Child, The Rise of Indigenous Rock Star Jesse Davis. Thank you. Jesse Ed Davis.
Got it. Hi, everybody. We've had some trouble trying to get the screen, the contrast a little better. If you have sunglasses, it looks better. And with the shades, I took the shades off. And I guess as the sun keeps going down, it should look a little better. But the photos are really important to what I want to say tonight. And hopefully they come through a little bit. It's great being out here. In Oklahoma right now, we can't be outside, so we're really loving it out here when it's 80 degrees and we don't know if we should wear pants. Yeah, that could be. Maybe the stage lights. Yeah, maybe we don't need the stage lights for a minute. Before I began, the Davis family asked me to read a statement. Some members of the family wanted to be here with us but couldn't make it. And I'd like to read this on their behalf. Good evening. On behalf of our family, I want to thank you all for gathering here tonight to honor our cousin, Jesse Ed Davis. Long before the world came to know him as one of the great guitarists of his generation, Jesse was known to us simply as Eddie. And though his talent carried him far from home to stages and studios with George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Taj Mahal, and so many others, he never stopped being one of ours. We are deeply grateful to Douglas Miller for his work chronicling Jesse's life and legacy in Washita Love Child, and to the Venice Heritage Museum and the Bob Dylan Center for bringing us together this evening. To the musicians joining us tonight, and to everyone who continues to listen, to remember and to honor his music, thank you. It means more to our family than words can express to see Jesse celebrate it with such care and respect. Thank you. Okay, now I want to say, before I do the formal talk, back in Oklahoma, Jesse Ed Davis makes me feel like I can really belong. And part of what attracted me to Okies like Jesse Ed Davis, Leon Russell, Jim Keltner, Jimmy Karstein, Carl Radel, J.J. Cale, Steve Ripley, Chuck Blackwell, Gary Gilmore, Mike Brewer, and others is how they show me that I can be myself in Oklahoma. And here too in Los Angeles, Jesse makes me feel like I can belong. So much of what he loved and I love is still here. Johnny's Pastrami, Tito's Tacos, Pink's Hot Dogs, McCabe's Guitar Shop, the Whiskey A Go-Go, Venice Beach, the Pacific Ocean. Just the other day, I learned there was a Big Dipper roller coaster at Pacific Ocean Park, like the Big Dipper Jesse loved back home at the Spring Lake Amusement Park. Jesse's father loved it here too. He would sit on the beach for hours, staring across the ocean to where he once fought with the Navy during World War II. And there's a long history of Okies going to California. In the old days, there would be signs warning, Okies don't apply here. Okies don't rent here. And fewer people know that there used to be signs in part of America that said, Indians don't apply here. We don't serve Indians. Jesse was indigenous too. Kiowa, Comanche, Cheyenne, Seminole, Muskogee. Even in the 1960s, Jesse had to break down a lot of walls and build a lot of bridges to get where he wanted to be. And he made a place of belonging here. And he brought us here together tonight. And his music is an incredible gift. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to tell you about it. First, I just want to say thank you to a bunch of people really quickly. Jim Keltner, Bob Glaub, Elliot Easton, Scott McCoy, Van Dyke Parks, Mark Shark, Steve Jenkins, the band Blackbird, Joy Harjo, Taj Mahal, Bill Maxwell, Cheryl and Pete Waddington, Patty Daly, Billy Noriega, Tantaleo Sants, Kelly Brady, Laura Guerin, Rashenda and Patty Davis, Bobby, Peggy, Tom, and Karen Sonke, Jesse's Kiowa family, the great Gary Ray and Garrett Ray, Bob Tsukamoto, Howard Tsukamoto, Jim Catalano, John Trudell, Wavoka Trudell, Charlene Ripley, Christine Kale, Carol Levy, Anthony Carfello, Sean Silva, Chris and Mary Von Alt, my mother Donna, my beautiful wife Exa Von Alt, and our amazing son Kit Miller. And Kit's a drummer who is just excited to meet Jim Keltner in person as I am. And the great Gary Malaber, who's among us as well. Kit couldn't wait to get a picture with Gary Malaber and Jim Keltner, two of his favorite drummers. Kit's 8 years old, and he's been playing drums live back in Oklahoma. And you can't see it, but if you can, well, that's supposed to say Jim Keltner Fan Club. As a frontman, sideman, guitarist, pianist, producer, band leader, and more, the multi-talented Jesse Ed Davis recorded or appeared with more than 100 major artists, including Bob Dylan, John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Taj Mahal, the Rolling Stones, the Allman Brothers, Jackson Browne, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, John Lee Hooker, Albert King, Emmylou Harris, Leon Russell, Leonard Cohen, Gene Clark, Arlo Guthrie, J.J. Cale, Junior Markham, Van Dyke Parks, Joe Cocker, Cher, the Pointer Sisters, Rod Stewart, the Faces, John Trudell, Harry Nilsson, pictured here with Jesse, though it's hard to see him, and too many more to list here. Jesse made 3 solo albums during the early 1970s while simultaneously becoming one of the most coveted session guitarists in Hollywood. He contributed to 8 top 10 albums, 7 top 10 singles, and dozens more top 20 and top 40 records. Jesse worked in pop, folk, jazz, rock and roll, country, blues, and more. Tonight's the Night, Stand By Me, Watching the River Flow, Doctor My Eyes, Graffiti Man, a version of Statesboro blues that inspired Duane Allman to play slide guitar. My discography would be as long as my arm, probably, Jesse said, and that was an understatement. Jesse Ed Davis surfed the transatlantic cross currents of popular music, and he did so as a Kiowa kid with an Oklahoma wind at his back. At a time when few native musicians appeared on major concert stages, radio waves, and record store walls, Jesse was seen and heard from Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York to England, Germany, and France. From Hollywood studios to the courts of British rock royalty, he was a producer, an insider, and a key collaborator. In 1971, George Harrison invited Jesse to perform at the Concert for Bangladesh, staged at Madison Square Garden. Initially filling in for an ailing Eric Clapton, and with showtime rapidly approaching, Jesse ducked into a hotel room where he received a crash course in the set list from bassist Klaus Vormann. Clapton finally showed up, but George knew Jesse was still valuable. It was the Jesse Ed groove, concludes Jim Keltner, who pulled double drummer duty that night with Ringo. It was extreme bliss, all those wonderful musicians, Jesse later described it. I was standing right in front of Ringo Starr. His bass drum was booting me in the back. To play together for the purpose that we were doing, I thought was probably one of the highest points of my career. Musical, emotional, spiritual, you name it. It was just a wonderful day. 16 years later, Jesse was still taking the stage with iconic artists and still at the center of the music they made, though this time they came to him. In 1987, at LA's Palomino Club, Bob Dylan and George Harrison showed up to help draw media attention to Jesse's Graffiti Man project with Dakota artist John Trudell. They plucked John Fogerty from the crowd too, and Dylan implored Fogerty to play Proud Mary for the first time in 15 years. If you don't sing it, people are gonna think it's a Tina Turner song, Dylan exhorted. The Palomino gig captured Jesse on a comeback trail that ran through Indigenous community and culture. I'm Jesse Ed, and I'm real proud to be an Indian, and this is something I hope that doesn't go by you, he declared that night. To Jesse, the meaning of life was simple. Eat good food, play good music, and have fun. His song, Every Night is Saturday Night, it wasn't just a party tune. It was a personal philosophy, though it sometimes became reckless. I made too much money too soon and too young, he once observed about himself. Jesse was a quintessential Virgo. He was hardworking, but he was hard on those around him. He subjected himself and others to abrupt pivots between wanting to feel as intensely as possible and not wanting to feel at all. There's just a darkness in me, he told his friends when they tried to help. Being an artist, he said, you have to feel deeply. You have to feel more deeply than your average person. You have to feel more deeply to even want to be an artist. If that darkness explains Jesse's death, then lightness explains his life. In the end, his music should define him. Music and lyrics that illuminated a still largely unfamiliar set of Indigenous experiences, ones that were a little more Saturday night in the city than Monday morning on the res, and filled with a little more joy than pain. Born in Norman, raised in Oklahoma City and a central figure in the Tulsa Sound, Jesse Edwin Davis III's Okie credentials ran deep. Well, that's before we establish his ancestry, including some of the most prominent Indigenous people in history. In spheres of education, military service, religion, politics, governance, business, sports, farming, music, film, and more. His native forebears established precedent and pressure for Jesse to do great things. His seminal great-grandmother, Alice Browne Davis, was the first female chief of the Seminole Nation. His seminal grandfather, Bill Graham Davis, played professional football with the Hominy Indians, and he once caught the winning pass in a game against the New York Giants. On his mother's side, Jesse's grandfather, Jasper Sonke, was a U.S. Marshal and tribal chairman of the Kiowa Nation during the Great Depression. Jesse's maternal great-grandfather, George Poolaw, was an arrow maker, a sweat lodge doctor, and keeper of the Kiowa calendar, which documented Kiowa people's histories. He practiced healing inside medicine teepees, where he invited the power of guardian spirits. He and other medicine people danced to drums and sang medicine songs, bringing music to the sick. Well, Jesse Ed Davis could do the same, bringing people into communal spaces, making rhythm, singing songs that celebrated life and healing. In his own way, Jesse's natural anthem offered people good medicine. Jesse's Kiowa mother, Vivian Sonke, and Comanche and Seminole father, Jesse Edwin Davis II, were musicians themselves and serious record collectors. Vivian, or Mama Sita, was the first Kiowa woman to earn a degree at the University of Oklahoma. She played piano live on the radio and toured the country with her father, performing dances and songs in the Kiowa tradition. Jesse's father, Big Jess, or Papa D, or Bus, was a war veteran, a jazz drummer, and an award-winning painter. He was also the host of Oklahoma's Indians for Indians radio program. Do we have sound on the...
Indians, WNAD, Norman, Oklahoma. The correct time, 1 o'clock. Now, Indians for Indians.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the radio audience. This is Jesse E. Davis, your announcer for today's program. Excuse me. We'll bring you today news of Indians, for Indians, and of Indians. And today we have Charlie Apicon from Carnegie singing today.
Jesse danced with his father. That's the best picture in the whole show. I hope you can kind of see it. Jesse danced with his father at Comanche powwows in the straight dance tradition. Jesse's distinctive beats and steps first grew in those grass powwow fields. Leon Russell, too, heard how the shuffle comes from Indigenous people. And Mama Sita and Bus loved their only child and nurtured his passion for music. Jesse Edwin Davis III so resembled a miniature Jesse Edwin Davis II that the two actually won a father-son look-alike contest in 1948. After Bus took Jesse to see Elvis live in Oklahoma City, Jesse began blooming in front of the mirror, pretending to be the king. And then he began sneaking his father's Martin from the closet when his father was at work. Before long, Jesse led his own high school and college groups. Among them, the Continentals were an interracial rock and roll group with black singer Carl Rogel, white bandmates John Ware, Bill Maxwell, and John Selk, all of whom went on to successful careers of their own, and Jesse on guitar in early 1960s Oklahoma, before the Civil Rights Act. Prefiguring Sly Stone, Paul Butterfield, Love, Jimi Hendrix, and his own experience with Taj Mahal, Jesse deserves credit for his part in breaking color lines in rock and roll. With his next group, The New Breed, Jesse cut his first 45 single. Penning and producing both the A and B sides. Here's Just Another Bird Dog. At age 20, Jesse was writing, producing, and arranging and fronting his own group. That's not him on vocals, of course, but pulling all the strings. And meanwhile, when Jesse was 18, he played his way on stage backing chart-topping Conway Twitty at the Spring Lake Amusement Park in Oklahoma City. Over the next 4 years, Jesse earned an education on the road with Twitty, while his studies at OU languished. Jesse loved being an Okie. He was proudly Kiowa and Comanche. He tells us in his autobiographical Washita Love Child. From Venice Beach, he would fire his Ruger 22 out into the Pacific Ocean and proclaim, "You can take the boy out of Oklahoma, but you can't take Oklahoma out of the boy." But Oklahoma had also been hard for Jesse. He was the only Native kid in his middle-class Oklahoma City school, where he was designated an urban Indian. Jesse was bullied to the point that he was sometimes inconsolable and afraid to leave his home. He cruised around with a machete tucked under the driver's seat of his '55 Chevy. In 1966, having replaced his machete with a Telecaster, Jesse rode Route 66 out of Oklahoma all the way to its end on the California coast. And there he fell in with a merry band of fellow Okies at the legendary Sky Hill, a hippie commune bona fide, Leon Russell characterized his studio crash pad. And then the plantation in Sherman Oaks, where some kind of shootout went down. It was like trains coming in and out of the station. Jimmy Karstein remembered about these places. New arrivals vied for a spot on a Leon Russell, J.J. Cale, or Junior Markham record, and a spot on the couch. Pianos filled rooms at awkward angles, while music and smoke filled the air. If you got lost, you could follow a microphone cord like a trail marker. It was there that Ed Davis, as he now preferred people call him, lived with so many Okie migrants, he could almost forget he had ever left Oklahoma. But then, one night at the Topanga Corral, burgeoning blues singer Taj Mahal cut through a contradictory blend of bikers and suburbanites sipping beer and wine. Taj had a record contract with Columbia, but he needed a band. He got a tip on a young guitar player who was turning heads. Snaking his way toward the stage, a guitar sound washed over him like a ray of light. "Oh, hell yeah," Taj said to himself. And before the song finished, he knew this was his guy. Ed Davis thought so too, describing the beginning of their music partnership as, quote, "love at first sight." Taj recognized Ed's talent for always playing something interesting. Ed's deep knowledge of the blues rivaled Taj's own. If Taj wanted to put a new spin on old music, then Ed was a perfect fit. Covering guitar, piano, organ, horn arrangements, and even handwritten liner notes, Ed was such an instrumental force that Taj sometimes called their group the Davis Band.
My captain is Taj Mahal. When I played with Taj all those years, that was what I called him all the time, was captain. Like it was a great team. The band we had was Gary Gilmore and Chuck Blackwell. My captain is Taj Mahal. When I played with Taj all those years,
I'll wait. Okay, ready?
My captain is Taj Mahal. When I played with Taj all those years, that was what I called him all the time, was captain. Like it was a great team. The band we had was Gary Gilmore and Chuck Blackwell. We
a lot of good music
we
came out of
really
that
rocked and
bunch of
rolled.
people.
We played all over the country. We didn't have any record sales, I don't think, but we had a huge following just on the strength of our personal appearances. We had a rock solid, super tight band. And
with Gary Gilmore and Chuck Blackwell rounding out the rhythm section, the band built an audience through touring, crisscrossing the country. Taj Mahal and the Great Plains Boogie Band became everybody's favorite band's favorite band. On the road, earning the respect of his peers, Ed Davis's life was in motion. Hey, what better place for a young musician to contemplate rapid changes and boundless horizons than a seat next to his friends in a van, traversing shifting landscapes, where hours pass through your reflection in the window, making kaleidoscopic vistas and memories. On stage, Taj Mahal and the Great Plains Boogie Band was visually striking in Western wear, but the clothing wasn't a gimmick. It reflected their purpose. Taj dressed in homage to black cowboys' histories in the U.S. West. And with Ed, or Indian Ed, as some of his new California friends called him, they had rare but requisite indigenous representation. We were a black man, Taj Mahal tells me, a native indigenous person, and two guys that were Anglos with backgrounds that went back to England and Scotland. If that wasn't an American mix, then I don't know what. While fans embraced the group's diverse profile, Columbia Records didn't know how to market them. Though songs like The Cuckoo had its roots in the 15th century, the band was too forward-thinking. Still, fellow artists recognized the Taj Mahal Band's brilliance. In November 1968, they opened for original Hound Dog singer Big Mama Thornton at the Whiskey. And during their set, Taj looked down at the crowd. To his surprise, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Brian Jones were dancing with a troupe of women. A couple weeks later, Taj and company received an invitation to join the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, beginning production across the Atlantic. They made us feel really royal and special, Taj remembers. The circus featured fire eaters and flying trapeze artists. The Who played their new A Quick One, and a supergroup featuring John Lennon, Keith Richards, Eric Clapton, and Mitch Mitchell performed a ripping version of the Beatles' Your Blues. The Stones closed the festival with tunes from their new Beggar's Banquet. Backstage, Ed sat picking his guitar. He was less interested in mingling than making more music. He also noticed how he and Lennon had been awkwardly eyeing each other throughout the day. Ed chuckled at the way people were fawning over Lennon. But in truth, Ed too was excited to meet a Beatle. But Ed's approach was to not approach at all. We didn't speak for hours that first day, he said. I don't know if you can see, but that's Ed Davis, John, and Yoko there at the circus. Finally, when Jesse began picking Mystery Train, the door burst open. Lennon charged forward and grabbed a guitar, and after the pair played a few tunes together, still without speaking, Lennon blinked first. Introducing himself, he mentioned how, when the spotlight hit Ed's face just right, he looked, quote, very beautiful in Indian. Then they jumped back into Carl Perkins' numbers for what seemed like hours. We were communing on a higher plane, Ed said about their meeting. We were the perfect foils for each other. It was true love. If the rock and roll circus was a triumph for Ed Davis, the rock and roll circus was a triumph for Ed Davis. He didn't just meet John Lennon, he also met future collaborators, George, Ringo, Clapton, and others. Ed was on top of the world. Pat, this whole experience has been so fantastically rewarding and personally satisfying, he wrote home to his girlfriend, Patty. Well, the circus should have launched Taj Mahal to wide acclaim, but the Stones regretted their own set. Thinking they had been outplayed by The Who and Taj Mahal, they stuck the film in their vault. And finally releasing it in 1996, they flew Taj and Gilmore and Blackwell out to New York City and gave them the red carpet treatment. Jesse Ed Davis, who had been a star at the original event, should have been there too. With their wheels spinning at the end of a European tour, Taj Mahal needed a break. The music industry was turning dark, and people were getting hurt and sometimes dying. Taj worried that this might be his fate. Ed Davis, too, was ready for a change. I knew I was lucky to be working with him, Taj told me. He figured he was out there, people knew his name, he might as well go and put something out himself. But that didn't make things easy. Looking back, Jesse confessed, I wasn't ready. But he would see Taj again. In June 1970, Ed Davis arrived back in the USA with a reel of recordings for his first solo album. The finished album's cover would feature a painting by Jesse's father that depicted Jesse sitting cross-legged, smoking a Calumet, while the back cover captured Ed Davis smoking a salami on Venice Beach. Except he wasn't Ed Davis anymore. Now he was Jesse, embracing his father's name. And with that, Jesse Davis brought it all the way back home to Reno Street, Tulsa County, and the Washita River. And then he launched headlong into a combination solo, sideman, and session career that saw him land on many of the most beloved albums of his time. With Jackson Browne in 1972, Jesse cut one of the greatest guitar solos in the classic rock canon. Dr. My Eyes captures everything that's so impressive about Jesse, evident in the tone, the composition, and the personality of his performance. He was so striking, Jackson remembers Jesse, to have him playing the music he was playing in the middle of all this sort of revival and interest in Native Americans, the whole hippie counterculture involvement. But then, in many ways, he had more confluence or connection with what we thought of as Southern. Jesse Ed was so vibrantly, cinematically Indian. But when he spoke with that deep Oklahoma, really deep Oklahoma accent. Jackson had a song called Nightingale queued up for Jesse. I don't hear myself on that, Jesse said. Jackson instructed the engineer to load a different song. He was unsure about this one. Maybe Jesse could help bring it to life. It was in a skeletal state. Jackson's piano and scratch vocal, Lee Sklar's bass, and Russ Kunkel's congas. Okay, yeah, I'll do that, Jesse enthused. He strolled into the tracking room. He plugged into a Fender Vibrotramp, and he cranked it to maximum volume. That's just these two instruments, Jackson notes, meaning Jesse and his guitar. You put them together and it's magic. Jesse's lead guitar on Dr. My Eyes was his first and only time playing it. One take, without a complete rehearsal. Notice Jesse's sweet and subtle licks in the second verse as he begins dancing into the shuffle. And then the grand entry as Jesse comes stepping and singing to the beat of the congas, giving it a tribal feel. It's beautiful and free, evoking his past as a young powwow dancer. And finally, Jesse's solo fades into the forever. He was indeed magical.
in my eyes.
You ready for another one? The engineer asked Jesse. No, Jesse declined. That's it. That's it? Yeah, man, I got another session to go to. I gotta go. Jackson remembers looking around the control room in disbelief. Here's a guy that was on his way somewhere else and threw this off in one pass, Jackson says. He was just so spontaneously plugged into something magical, it didn't require work on his part. Throughout the 1970s, Jesse continued appearing on albums by acquaintances, friends, and heroes. Hear Jesse's most wicked groove on Joe Cocker's Black Eyed Blues, or Jesse's exquisite playing on Cordelia from David Blue's Cupid's Arrow, playing alongside his pals Levon Helm, David Lindley, and Duck Dunn. Jesse's descending guitar figure sets the melodic spine, demonstrating his exemplary talent for hearing the essence of a song and strengthening it. Likewise, hear Jesse's masterful acoustic slide guitar duel with Bert Jansch on Open Up the Watergate. Jesse wasn't the only slide player around, recalled the Monkees' Mike Nesmith, who produced the Jansch album, but he had an authenticity to him. That's Jesse Davis, that's Ray Eckstein on keyboards, lower left. Yeah, Jesse Ed Davis, Bob Glaub on bass, Jerry Drummondville on saxophone, and off to the side there is the great Gary Ray. They're opening for the Steve Miller Band at the Santa Monica Civic Center on March 13th, 1973. And an amazing picture. I've never shown this one before, from Ben Sidran, who played with Jesse. And the bottom left, you have Jim Keltner on drums, Sandy Konikoff on percussion, Gary Malaber on drums. Jim Keltner and Gary Malaber are here tonight together. And then coming around the horn, Jesse Ed Davis, Arnold Rosenthal, and Ben Sidran on keyboards. Speeding in and out of Venice from session to session with his Fender Bassman strapped to the luggage rack of Patty's Porsche, and his Telecaster tossed in the back seat, typically with no case, Jesse was at the peak of his powers. At the Hurricane House he shared with Patty and her son Billy. There's Jesse and Billy together here. They got their matching shirts in OU colors, crimson and cream. With her son Billy, whom Jesse called his own, Jesse received a steady flow of visitors. Greg Allman, Graham Parsons, Eric Burden. When George Harrison visited, he loved to go up and hold court at the Crab Shell. When John Lennon visited, he liked walking along the Venice boardwalk where people wouldn't hassle him. 30 steps from the sand, Jesse's Hurricane House became a hub. In his ancestral indigenous tradition, he welcomed visitors and gave them a place to stay. Yeah, remember that. The indigenous people welcome visitors and give them a place to stay. Jesse was everywhere, and just as much people were drawn to him. Here he is at the Hurricane House on 20 Hurricane, working on a song. One person in particular who was drawn to Jesse was Gene Clark, Jesse and Gene were blood brothers, having literally shared a bloody handshake. They brought out the best and sometimes the worst in each other, with a reputation for getting rowdy at Dantana's. In 1971, Gene invited Jesse to Mendocino to hear a stream of new songs Gene was writing in his head while walking around darkness in his Pacific village at night. Gene was searching for a different sound, wanting to send her his poetry and his musical presentation. Jesse would do that again years later with John Trudell. Together, Jesse and Gene made the beautiful rediscovered classics White Light and No Other. Picture of Jesse in the studio: Jesse, Joe Zagarino, Carly Clark, Chris Etheridge, and Gene Clark off on the side. And another picture, Gene Clark on the left in shadow, Jesse playing a Martin D18. I don't know how many pictures I've seen of Jesse in the studio actually playing a guitar. It's incredible to see that. And John Selk is off to the right, though a little shaded. John Lennon and Jesse's effect on each other was just as powerful. Jesse became a key figure in Lennon's exploration of his musical roots and a shining member of Lennon's band with Jim Keltner, Klaus Vormann, and Nicky Hopkins. In the haze of a lost weekend, they made the compelling Walls and Bridges. That's Jim Keltner and John Lennon there having a private conversation. Jesse considered the album one of his proudest achievements. And after Lennon suddenly flew back to New York to reunite with Yoko, Jesse almost landed Ronnie Wood's spot in the Stones before becoming Woody's guitar partner for a tour with the Faces that would be their last.
This is Dr. Winston calling from outer space, and well, I'm yours. Bye-bye, call me.
John's message to Jesse, John, AKA Dr. Winston O. Boogie. Thousands of Faces fans saw an obviously Native American man playing guitar on stage left. In solidarity, Ronnie Wood began tying a bone choker around his neck, like Jesse. Backstage one night in Arizona, a group of Native people presented Jesse with an eagle feather. When he was on stage, Jesse made you feel so welcome. You could bounce off his smile and his great vibes, Kenny Jones told me. Away from the stage, Jesse was struggling with his health. Where Am I Now When I Need Me? From Jesse's third solo album. By the end of 1975, that question began dominating his life. Indeed, playing with the Faces put Jesse on the biggest stages of his career. But if he moved up the marquee, then it was easier there to get burned in the brighter lights. Here's Jesse live with the Faces.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something that will save you. Late September and I really should.
I want to give a special thank you to Billy Noriega, who's with us tonight, who was known as Billy Davis or Billy the Kid when he was growing up here with Jesse and Patty. And a lot of these photos and that little clip there of the Faces, that's thanks to Billy. Thank you, Billy. The tour ground to a halt in 1975, and by December, the band broke up. Like Jesse's tenure with Lennon, his Faces future ended abruptly. Things got worse in February 1977. Jesse went with Bob Dylan to a session Phil Spector was producing for Leonard Cohen. The studio phone rang. Someone passed an urgent call to Jesse. His father had died back in Oklahoma City. Dylan put his arm around Jesse and got him out of the studio. 11 years later, in June 1988, I apologize, Bob Dylan would call a funeral home in Oklahoma City and asked to speak to Jesse's mother, Vivian, Mamacita. And he reached through the phone and he put his arm around her too. Jesse sought refuge in Hawaii, where he lived with Gene Clark and tried to reform his relationship with Patty, but instead met his first wife, Tantaleo, in a marriage that never stood a chance. And then on December 8th, 1980, Jesse lost another close friend. Everything went black, Jim Keltner told me. 5 years later, Jesse Ed Davis met a strong woman named Kelly Brady, who would become his second wife. Yeah, and a fellow Native artist who would put him on a path to a second artistic peak. On May 1st, 1985, Jesse went on a field trip from the American Indian Eagle Lodge, where he was a patient, to Cal State Long Beach, where Dakota poet John Trudell would perform spoken word. Jesse approached him backstage and said, "I can put music to your words." Trudell always emphasized how it was May Day, as though that detail was really important. Well, May Day is, after all, an International Workers' Day, a celebration of spring, and a code word for distress. Three themes that would correspond with Jesse and John's collaborative turn. There's the graffiti band, Jesse Ed Davis, Mr. Mark Shark, Bobby Tsukamoto, Jim Ahinger, Gary Ray, and John Trudell. It's got 2 more pages. John Trudell is one of the inspirations, like John Lennon, Jesse said. The thing that struck me was a Bob Dylan imagery consciousness. I thought there's nobody else that can put music behind this Indian poetry besides another Indian. With Shark, Gary Ray, Ricky Eckstein, Bobby Tsukamoto, Jim Anger, and Thai Pum singer Quiltman Sami, they fashioned a lyrically driven project with strong instrumental backing. In style and substance, the graffiti band echoed everything from talking blues and early rock and roll to old and new left folk music, traditional indigenous music, and 1980s synth rock. Their originality was so abundant, it was sometimes overwhelming. There's the difference between imitation and influence, Bob Dylan suggests. And then there's something else entirely, like John Trudell. There's the graffiti band at the Come Back Inn here in Venice. A picture of the photographer Martina just sent me recently. People are still sending me Jesse pictures and stuff. It's wonderful. Let's see. Their first record, AKA Graffiti Man, became a hit on the powwow circuit. Fan letters poured in from everywhere. And then came a boost from Dylan. "Hey, you want to hear the best album of the year?" Dylan said about AKA Graffiti Man during an interview with Rolling Stone. "Only people like Lou Reed and John Doe can dream about doing work like this," Dylan pledged. On The Stunning Beauty in a Fade, the graffiti band achieved a remarkable mix of poetry, tribal drumming, and weeping bottleneck slide guitar in a song unlike anything before or since. Recorded 1 year before his passing, Jesse's circular slide guitar cries in response to Quiltman's pleading, wait for me, my darling," underneath Trudell's poem about a man trying to conquer the world and a woman who became his last stand. Jesse's slide technique descended from indigenous Hawaii, where Jesse briefly lived. Kanaka people developed the kikakila steel guitar prior to colonization in the late 19th century. It traveled on ships to California, where Jesse made a career, and it became a feature of two-step music back in Oklahoma, where Jesse was born.
A man, a woman, a sort of love. She was a beautiful woman, but he did a lot of other
We have
things.
copies of AKA Graffiti Man for sale right over there with that beautiful song Beauty and a Fade on it, and books and CDs and stuff. Okay, we'll wrap up.
Conquer the world, and he couldn't.
Let's see. Jesse showed me a way that was maybe a lot more real than a lot of other things, John Trudell said. He showed me that it was through art, that art is a way to develop consciousness and create change. Jesse and I believed in each other, Trudell continued. In our own way, we both went to the last doorway and we opened that sucker. We saw what was back there and we handled it in our own ways, but it affected both of us. It gave us a bond. For 3 years, that bond generated a mutual recovery and comeback. Jesse just needed more time. We need more Jesse Eds, Quiltman stresses. I think in my mind, in my home here, we don't have any musicians coming up. There might be horn players and guitar players here on the res, but they don't have any access. I know we got some Jesse Eds in this world. God damn, Quiltman said. He was so good. He made music grow with his guitar. Answering the phone in his Los Angeles apartment in 1986, 20 years after leaving Oklahoma City, Jesse Ed Davis was anxious to share some news with the caller. My ship has come in, he beamed. I got 60 acres that's come down from the Kiowa. As luck would have it, I don't know if you know any legends of the old General George Armstrong Custer, but there was an old thing that went down called the Washita Massacre, Jesse told the caller. Jesse's land overlooked the site of the massacre. He had always known stories about what happened to his Kiowa, Comanche, and Cheyenne people there. He also knew about his Seminole and Muskogee ancestors who fought to defend their homelands before being marched at gunpoint to Indian territory. And Jesse kept a picture of the powerful Kiowa leader, Setanta. He knew about Setanta's bugle and how his great Kiowa ancestor could redirect earthly forces with his instrument. Jesse knew about sacrifice. I'm fixing to move back to Oklahoma, Jesse announced. He was on a comeback trail. Alas, as Dylan once sang, you can always come back, but you can't come back all the way. And if you can't read that, 3 months before Jesse passed, he sent this letter to Bob Dylan. Hello, Bob. Hello, old friend. I hope all is well with you and yours. I'm home from the hospital. Ah, the fresh spring waters of returning health. I've even discarded the walking cane. I'm going into the studio in about a week. Have you something I could record? You know the kind of stuff I like, so if something comes to mind. Also, I'm dying to play. If there's anything coming up I could help with, or if you just want to play, let's. All the best. Jesse. Comebacks? Maybe that isn't exactly true. Perhaps Jesse had his own thoughts on the matter. Keep me coming back again, he sang. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and stay around for part 2. Let me say, we're going to bring up the great Jim Keltner, Van Dyke Parks, Bob Glaub, Elliot Easton, and Mark Shark to be joined with Steve Jenkins, director of the Bob Dylan Center, to have a conversation about Jesse. So come on up, fellas.
I can't add a thing to that.
I know. After an hour.
I'd like to introduce these fine individuals here. Yeah, these guys need no introduction. To my immediate right is Mark Shark, guitarist in the Graffiti Band and Bad Dog. Mark played with Jesse for years, and he learned straight from Jesse. He's a surviving link to Jesse's great guitar playing. Next to Mark, we have the great Van Dyke Parks. Jesse played on Van Dyke's Clang of the Yankee Reaper. They worked together on Nilsson projects and knew each other well. We're so honored to have Van Dyke with us. Yeah. Next to Van Dyke, the great Bob Glaub. Bob played in Jesse's band in the 1970s, played on Jesse's Keep Me Comin' album. We're going to want to hear about that. And Bob has gone on to a wonderful career with Jackson Browne, Stevie Nicks, Warren Zevon, and others. Thank you, Bob. Next to Bob, the great Jim Keltner. I would have to take the rest of our time to read you Keltner's resume, but he's played with everyone, and I just say this, Jim Keltner played more sessions with Jesse Ed Davis than any other artist in Jesse's career. Okay, and then we have the great Elliot Easton. Guitarist of the Cars, who will want to hear from him tell you about how Jesse was a great influence on his playing and how they were friends toward the end of Jesse's life. And finally, down at the end, Steve Jenkins from the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Steve's a great music fan, and he works tirelessly in Tulsa and travels around the country on behalf of the center. And Steve's become a dear friend of mine through many projects related to Jesse Ed Davis. Okay. So with that, I'm going to invite Steve to get a good discussion going.
Okay. Sure thing. Thanks, Doug. It's what an honor to be on this stage with these folks whose music I've been listening to my whole life. Thanks for including me, Doug, as always. You know, Doug and I work together at the Dylan Center, which, show of hands, who's been out to Tulsa to visit the center? Great, all right, we want to see the rest of you coming out to Tulsa. Doug came to us, he was doing research for the book he's written so beautifully about Jesse Ed, and we heard the condensed version of Quite a Life and Career this evening, to say, you know, maybe we should take what's on the page and get it up on the gallery walls. Simultaneously, our artist in residence at the Bob Dylan Center is the great Joy Harjo. Joy was U.S. Poet Laureate 3 terms running, obviously an extraordinary writer, but also a very wonderful musician. Her new record is just out that she made with Esperanza Spalding, for example. And one of the first things that Joy and I talked about was her interest in Jesse Ed. She knew him back in the day. So we got Joy and Doug together, and we all worked together to mount this exhibition, which ran in 2024 into 2025 at the Dillon Center. We're all Bob all the time at the Dillon Center, but we do make room for the work and the celebration and the investigation of other artists who we love and who we revere. And of course, in Jesse's case, someone who played with Dylan. So it just felt like such a natural. So that's sort of how all of this started. We have so much to thank Doug for helping to bring Jesse back into the public eye where he belongs. I mentioned Joy Harjo. She really wanted to be here with us tonight, but she's hard at work in Tulsa. She's working on the next volume of her memoir. She's got another poetry collection coming out soon. But I've got a quote from her. And because we're all dudes here on the panel, I wanted to make sure to make room for Joy and her voice. And so here's what Joy has to say, very brief. I knew Jesse as a fellow musician and always appreciated his artistry, his innovation and vision in a time of cultural shift for Native people and this country. I'm thrilled to bring his work to wider attention through the exhibition at the Bob Dylan Center. Again, she was co-curator of the show, where my work as artist in residence is centered around artistry of all sorts and the specifics of the Native experience, especially that of gifted spirits like Jesse. That's Joy. I think Joy's use of that word spirits is so telling. And Van Dyke, I believe, if we can start with you, you said something not terribly dissimilar about Jesse Ed at one point. Working with him in the studio, you felt a certain sort of spirit emanate from Jesse. Can you tell us a bit about what was so special working with him on your record and all the ways you collaborated?
Hello there. Never leave a morning less. The fact is, he had the gift of mutual empowerment. Cohesive as it was, it drew people together and drew the best out of of all of them around him. It's easy to say that he didn't play that Indigenous card with vanity, but it was inescapable. And my motive at the time was one of atonement for sure, inescapably, which continues to this day, to be able to honor a man in his time so that he would enjoy the benefits of the acclamation. But he made us all feel real good about what we did. And it really was, especially with Harry Nilsson, a great gift that brought everyone together.
That's beautiful. He was the sole guitarist, I believe, on the clang of on your 75 record. Did you have a shared musical vocabulary? Was there a lot you had to discuss, or did you sort of intuitively find a way to get the sound you were looking for?
No. I was beyond words. I didn't tell him a damn thing because there was nothing to say except to play on.
Which he did magnificently.
Yes.
Bob, let's turn things over to you just for a moment. You played on Keep Me Comin'. Tell us about playing together, what that experience was like for you.
Well, it was my first recording session I ever did. I just joined the union about a half a year before, and it was my first, union pro studio session, where I met the gentleman sitting next to me, Jim Keltner, was a drummer on it. So it was huge for me. I had met Jesse maybe only about 6 months before. Gary Ray, you would know, or maybe about 6-8 months before. Gary was living in a house with Gary and I went to high school. Gary Ray, right here, great drummer, played in the graffiti band. Anyway, he and 4 other friends were living right behind Jesse down here on the beach. And Jesse took a liking to all of us because we jam in the house. And, he's about 9, 10 years older than us, and he kind of took us all under his wing. You know, he befriended all of us, and he was so sweet and kind, and he just told a bunch of us, and I think out of all of the group of people that was it was kind of a hippie crash pad, and I was still living with my parents. I had just come home from hitchhiking around Europe for about 7 months with a buddy, and I landed at my parents, and I moved out shortly thereafter with a couple buddies, but it was my landing pad, which people with kids still have going on today. You know, they move out and then they come back, I guess. Didn't happen with my kids, but anyway, long-winded answer. I mean, he took a chance on me. We had met, like, playing, and he told me, well, come over, just, way before, 20 years before cell phones, just knock on the door anytime. And I did. I became the thing that wouldn't leave. You know, we sat around playing Jimmy Reed songs. He let me play guitar with him. He taught me stuff on guitar. He didn't really have a bass at his house. He liked playing piano. He let me play his little Fender acoustic guitar, and we just fell in with each other. He befriended me and, was so kind and sweet. He was kind of like the life of the party. Yeah, and Doug had mentioned going down to the crab shell to eat. I had many meals at the crab shell with him. You could just walk down it's right by the Venice Pier. And he just took a chance on me when his bass player, to this day, I don't know if he didn't show up. I don't know if he didn't show up or he showed up, not able to play. He showed up and he was on the ground, right? He was out. I mean, okay, so he showed up and he called me on the phone. He said, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. He go, well, get down here with your bass as soon as you can. I got like a 9-piece band waiting. I got a horn section, and we're just starting an album tonight. And he took a total chance, like a shot on me, out of the blue. We'd never really played any, music together, man. So it meant everything. It was like my launching pad, 4 months later, he was recommending me to Phil Spector to play. Well, to John to have me play on a little bit on that rock and roll record and some other records. He was my launching pad. I owe him a huge debt of gratitude. But beyond that, he was just fun. He was so much fun to be around. He's so soulful, and just the way he played and the way he was, everything was joyful. He was very. When I did later after that album play with him, in some bars around, and we traveled to New York and played on a radio show with Jimmy Karstein on drums. And he was just a joy to be around, It was all music all the time and just soulful. I just loved him from the very first time I saw him with the Taj Mahal band. I went, who is that guy that looks like that? He looked so regal. And the way he played was unlike anyone else. He had his own slant. Well, they were playing blues, straight up kind of blues, a little kind of blues rock, but blues band, and he had his whole own slant. He didn't sound like any of the Albert King or B.B. King. I'd never heard anything like it. So I was a huge fan from the first time I laid eyes on him, and just to land. And then I saw him when I was hitchhiking around Europe on the concert for Bangladesh on the television, because it was in '71, and I did kind of say, and I met him synchronicity, like, not even 6 months later, like 4 months later, I said, because I was playing in a band. We had a band in high school, but I just stopped for that year. And I said, I want to do that, whatever that is, because I was reading record covers, and credits, and there was Carl Radel and Klaus Bormann on bass, and I kind of, said self, to myself, I want to do that. And I somehow here I am, lucky, by the grace of God, still doing the same friggin' thing.
It worked out pretty well for you, Bob.
Almost 55 years later. Okay, that was long-winded, but that's my answer.
No, Bob, that's great. There's so much in there, but to continue the thread, you mentioned how different Jesse's playing was from sort of your standard blues guitar that maybe you could hear popping into any club or watering hole here in Venice at the time, or probably across the country. And Elliot, who has your very own distinct guitar style, of course. What did you initially hear in Jesse's playing that you found so distinct? And I wonder if it found its way into your own playing.
Yeah, it absolutely has influenced my playing. It was his touch and his groove. I thought at the time, I was in high school and I was just starting to get good on guitar, and I'd come home from school every day and put on a record and move that needle back and back and back and play and do my homework, have dinner, go back, play for more hours, go to bed, and I did that every day. And I'd save my lunch money all week to buy another album. So my parents didn't have much money. But anyway, Jesse, the way he played, see, the thing about me is that I was attracted, while my contemporaries were flipping out over Led Zeppelin and The Who and all that stuff, I was much more drawn to American music. And the Taj Band, the band, I gotta say for Jim, the Delaney and Bonnie Accept No Substitute record was huge for me. I learned so much about music from that. I still think it's the best combination of rock, gospel, and soul music that's ever been done. And Jerry McGee was great. So that's another one, was a big album for me. But with Jesse, there was just something about his pocket, the way he just laid it in. And then on like something like Bacon Fat of Giant Step, the way he would use slightly jazzy chords and go down to the 6 and to 2/5s and stuff like that, and altered chords. And he was a little more sophisticated than most rock players at that time. He had a jazz sensibility too. It just seemed like everybody that I loved at that time was playing a Telecaster. It was Jesse, Robbie, James Burton, Roy Buchanan, Reggie Young, Roy Nichols up in Bakersfield, Burton, Roy Buchanan. Everybody was playing a Telecaster, so I had to have a Telecaster. And to this day, it's my Desert Island guitar. That's what I play, is a Fender Telecaster most of the time. And Jesse just really, it taught me a lot about how to come up with parts for songs and economy and how to fit in and not step on vocals, and just how grooves were put together, how the music was put together. And I learned so much from Jesse about that.
And you shared the stage at one point, yes?
Well, yeah. What happened was, the cars were doing well, and I was doing interviews with all these different guitar magazines, and they always ask, who were you influenced by, and I'd always name check Jesse. This is one of my main guys, and this got back to Jesse. That this guy Elliot from his new band, he keeps mentioning he was influenced. So he called Elliot Roberts' office. Elliot was our manager at the time. Yeah, no comment. But Jesse left his number, and I called him, and I went and visited him. Was it on Sawtell or Lancashire? Up around Sawtell. And we got together. I brought my guitar with me. I was so excited to meet him. And I played him the lick from the Cuckoo. And he goes, "Oh, you resolve it to a tritone." He goes, because I was playing a 3rd and 7 at the end, and he goes, "No, I do it this way with the 3rd and the 1, just sweeter." And I got he showed me how to play the Cuckoo, and he was playing me some of those funny message tapes from Lennon, with crazy messages from Dr. Winston O'Boogie and Screw You and all these crazy messages that he had. And so what happened was we became friendly. We became friends. This is, of course, not like these guys who did recording sessions with him, but we became friends. He knew I loved him, and he knew that I appreciated him so much. And he didn't have a guitar at that time, for reasons that you can probably use your imagination. So I called my friend Dan Smith at Fender, and I said, "Listen, Jesse Ed Davis doesn't have a guitar." I said, "Can I drive him down there? Would you set him up? He hasn't got a guitar to play. This is a criminal." So sad. And Dan said, sure, come on down. I'll give him a guitar, but I can pretty much guarantee you he's going to pawn it. So we went down all the way down to Orange County and went to the Fender factory. Dan gave him a nice Stratocaster guitar, and he was very happy. And well, he pawned it. You know, he pawned it. Then a little while after that, there was a NAMM convention, the National Music Merchants annual convention at the Anaheim Convention Center. And I was participating in the NAMM Jam, they call it. And I invited Jesse to come and play with me. And so we played a little bit. So I got to play with him on stage a little bit, which was a great thrill. But he was just, you know, you guys have talked about the two sides. On one hand, he was so sweet and so cool and funny. And when I got back to Boston where I lived, he sent me a cassette of Jesse Ed Davis's greatest hits with all the best songs that he played on and all that. And I thought, oh, that's really sweet. And then, about a week later, he calls me at my home in Boston. It was about 3 or 4 in the morning, so I guess it was midnight in LA. He says, can you lend me $15,000? I'm doing a Bonnie Bramlett Christmas single. I said, Jesse, I can't do that. I can't send you $15,000. He goes, okay, man, I understand. I said, on to the next guy. And it was sad, you know, man, but that's what drugs do. But I loved him and still do. Couldn't respect him any more than I do. And he's a seminal influence for me. I wouldn't play the way I do now if I didn't have Jesse coming through me.
Wow. Thanks, Elliot. Mark, fear not, we'll get to you, but I want to jump over to Jim. Bob, where was you played on Jesse's third solo record? Yes, keep them coming. Jim, you were on the first 2. So you, the second and third, I got them switched, sorry. Tell us about how you entered into the scene. Were you hanging out with Jesse here in Venice?
You know, I tried, Cynthia, my wife, told me, you better study up a little bit on this, you know, because I don't remember anything anymore about it. I've just done way too many records, and you know, I can't remember. But I look at this little audience here, and every one of these people are here because of Jesse Ed Davis. I mean, God bless him. I mean, he's. I know he's watching. I know he is. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I wish I could remember, you know, like when I first met him and all that. I don't even. If somebody were to say, and this happens all the time, somebody says, you remember you did this and you did that, and what's his name was there, and then I go, oh, right, that's it. But if you can't do that for me, I can't help you.
Jim, I'm getting there.
But the thing is, that doesn't matter anyway if you're talking about Jesse Ed Davis. To me, Jesse Ed, you know, he played, well, all I know for sure and knew then was that if he was involved in a session or something, anything that had to do with my playing on it, I knew it was going to be good. I knew that everything was going to be okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you know, there are a few of those people in your life. Fortunately for me, I feel very, very blessed that I had a lot of those guys like Jesse in my life. And but Jesse himself, you know, in particular, they used to talk about Tulsa shuffles. They used to say, you know, first of all, the Jimmy Carstine and those guys and Chuck Blackwell, none of you all know who these people were, but they were connected with JJ and Leon and that whole Tulsa thing. And I didn't know any of those people from Tulsa because I left at 13. My dad got us out of there and brought us here. So I met all my Okie friends here in California.
Yeah, they all made their way out here to LA.
Right, and I remember that there were people who were kind of snobby in a way about shuffles, for instance. They would say, you know, you got to know how to play a shuffle. And
Texas shuffle.
And right, and I mean, and they're right. But for me personally, I came into this business playing a shuffle. The first thing I ever played on commercially was with a band called Gary Lewis and the Playboys.
Right.
And it was a song called Just My Style.
Yeah, sure.
And Leon produced it and played on it.
Don't you know?
And that was a shuffle to me, and I didn't know, if it wasn't Coltrane and Elvin or Shelley Mann or Philly Joe Jones, I wasn't really that interested. I did not like rock and roll. I thought I was above it. I was snobby, basically. So it was a real kind of lesson when I first started playing this stuff, and especially with somebody like Leon. Leon, I owe most of my career to Leon Russell. You know, I wish that I had said that to him before he left. You know, so that's a kind of a lesson right there. We got to say these things to the people that we love and really mean so much to us. We got to tell them, you know, before they go. But Leon, yeah, Leon just said, he said to me, he didn't say anything. We just started playing the song, and I'm a jazz player, and I knew that it was going to be a little shuffle, like a rock and roll kind of thing. So I just played what I thought was it. And then people started telling me, you know, it's like a Tulsa shuffle. And I really, truly, at the time I thought, okay, yeah, good. I'll take that and I'll run with that. But I don't know other than that. And so they would, you know, there was all this talk all the time about the mystery of a shuffle. And to me, when I started playing like real rock and stuff with the real guys, and Jesse came into my life, when I played a shuffle with him, man, there's some records by an artist named Mark Benno.
Yeah.
And there's a song called Hall Street Jive that to this day, when I hear it, Jesse's killing, and I'm pissing myself off because I'm playing a little too jazzy. And I remember thinking, damn, it was so early on, I didn't know to just take that beautiful thing that he was playing and just lay into it, you know. I had to be like, yeah, I'm right here, over here. And so, you know, I have to live with that. But still, those records with Mark Benno, just a perfect example of Jesse's his ability to just take a little band, a little song, and be in the studio and just make it a thing that's fantastic. You know, he just had that. That's what he was. You know.
You know, we hear it as fans and listeners. We hear it on record, and it's fascinating to hear about behind the scenes how it seems like all of you were picking up on a similar vibe of him just sort of being able to roll into the groove and find just the right, you know, understated lick. We'll come back to you, Jim. Mark, you entered the story with Graffiti Band, and we're on that incredible record, which Dylan, you know, has continued to say is one of his favorites, aka Graffiti Man. Tell us a bit about working with Jesse at that point in his career and with Trudell. I mean, what a remarkable thing.
Yeah, I came into the Jesse Ed story a little bit later than all these guys. I had a group that was playing at the Lighthouse Cafe in Hermosa Beach. Fabulous place, that's right. And we had a standing gig every Wednesday or something. And it was a trio, me and Gary Ray on drums and Rick Eckstein on bass. Eric Eckstein, extraordinary musician. And one day, they were friends with Jesse Ed, and of course I'd been listening to Jesse Ed since, like Elliot, as a teenager. I was in my room with my Taj Mahal records going, yeah, there's something there. Listen to that tone. It was a Telecaster, like Robbie Robertson, a Telecaster thing, James Burton. I'm a telly man. Yeah, I got that sound was something else. So I was going through his records and trying to learn his licks. And one song in particular I just want to mention is 6 Days on the Road.
I'm just thinking of that same one.
Yeah, with Taj Mahal, where, you know, Jesse was an unbelievable blues player. Unbelievable. But he had this other side that could play the sweetest, silkiest country western guitar you ever heard. He was just, he had the touch. I used to sit down on Jesse's amplifier with his guitar playing his licks, and it sounded pretty good, you know, but it didn't sound like Jesse. I'm sorry. I had his amp, I had his guitar, and there was one thing missing, and that was Jesse Ed. So anyhow, Gary and Ricky brought Jesse Ed down to the Lighthouse, and he was a little bit, he was after the Faces and the highlights of his upper echelon career. But he walked in, and I had an amp and a guitar ready for him to play, and I said, "I'm just so happy to meet you, man. I got all your records, and what do you want to play?" He said, "Just plug me in. Well, do what you do." I said, "Okay, you know this song by Lowell George Little Feat called Willin'?" He said, "Yeah, I've heard it." So okay, so I started out, and he waits for a chorus and comes in, and from the first three notes, I knew I was in the presence of something really, really special. Something like, and it was a West Tone guitar through a Fender solid state amplifier that I borrowed from him. It was not vintage equipment of the highest order. It was good stuff, but it was not, not what he'd have tell you through a basement and all that. No, it was just something I borrowed for him. And didn't matter. Whatever he played through, it always sounded just like Jesse Ed. And those first three notes just sent me back. It was like, there's this level of guitar playing that's more even than the notes that you're playing. There's the intent with which you're playing them. And he had this, first of all, it's his hand vibrato and his ability to express himself emotionally straight from his subconscious into the guitar through the amp. And I was just like dumbfounded. And of course, by the end of the gig, I said, you can come back next week if you like. We'd love to have you again, Jesse. And he said, will the amp and guitar be there? I said, yeah, every gig, man. You just come, you show up, you come up at 5 minutes before showtime. I have a chair for you, 7-Up, and guitar, and it'll be in tune. And all you got to do is show up at 5 minutes after the gig, you can leave. He said, I can do that. Okay. So anyhow, we became fast friends, and I asked him so many questions about, how do you play this? Let's look at Dr. My Eyes. There's one riff in there I can't quite get. And he said, no, you got to pull it from the 6th. You can't pull it from the 7th. It's got to be pulled from the 6th. How do you play, there was this beautiful thing he did on this Gene Clark record. It's in the key of E, and it's in E tuning, but the song is in E minor. Now, this is kind of a nerdy 2 minutes of discussion. The song's in E minor, and you're playing a guitar that's tuned to E major, okay? So the only way I could figure out how to do it was to hop around. He said, oh, no, man. G is the relative major of E minor. So play it up here 3 frets higher, do the same licks you were doing at the 12th fret, and all your stuff is right there. And I said, shit. I never thought of that. He said, you're moving too much, man. You're going, and anyhow, he brought me into his John Trudell circle, And at first I was a little hesitant because John was just a poet. He wasn't singing. But then I started listening to the words and what Jesse put in the music behind John, and I became fast friends with John and toured with John for the next 30 years. Jesse passed away 2 years into it. But man, he's gone, but he's not forgotten. Every time I pick up the guitar, I think about Jesse Ed Davis, and he's my main inspiration to this day, as I know he is for a lot of guitar pickers out there.
That's quite a testimony.
Yeah. And then the clang of the Yankee Reaper by Van Dyke. Go check that out on YouTube. The Clang of the Yankee Reaper.
You know, between Mark, what you just described, which is, and thanks for getting into it, the technicalities of how to play. And then you have Van Dyke, who sort of speaks of Jesse in these lofty, heady terms, and we're getting a sense of, you know, a guy who, as Dylan says, quoting Walt Whitman, contains multitudes. Yes. So I love that you're all able to shed light on different aspects of his artistry. Bob and Mark, you joined us in Tulsa about midway through the run of the Jesse Ed Davis exhibition at the Dillon Center. We pulled together a tribute concert, and we just celebrated Jesse with about 2,400 people who came out for the concert, including Bob and Mark on stage, Taj Mahal, Joy Harjo, who I read from, and Jackson Browne. We had quite a night. Can the two of you, and if anyone else wants to join in, let us know, what's it like, you know, talking about Jesse, celebrating Jesse now, all these years later? Is it sort of completing a circle for you in a way? Any thoughts on, you know, Jesse today and his legacy, and thinking about when you knew him, you played with him, and now the role that he plays within culture, music, Native American culture, and all the rest?
Bob, you first.
Well, I mean, he's never left me, you know, coming full circle at that concert, which was amazing. You know, like he said, like Steve said, there's 2,400 people at this concert, and I was part of a house band with Gary down here, and Taj played. Taj brought his bass player, Gary Gilmore, out for the event, who was in Taj's original band with Jesse, and Joey Harjo. I mean, like I said, I owe him a huge debt of gratitude. He's never left my whole being, even though I won't say we ever fell out as friends. He always knew I loved him, but there came a time where, you know, I had a young family, and I just couldn't hang with him, you know. Unfortunately, it broke my heart, made me cry, you know, because I missed him all those years when he was playing, you know, with maybe Mark and the graffiti band, and some of my other friends were playing. Man, I was so proud that he made a comeback and, you know, got on the straight and narrow. But there were a number of years, you know, well after, like, you know, the mid 70s or so, I didn't see a lot of him. Right. So yeah, in a way it does come full circle to, you know, keep his name, you know, out there in the public eye and in my soul, you know, to know he meant so much to me and still does. I mean, playing music with him, like everyone here has said, when you were playing with him, he was a natural born band leader without taking over a band. You know, he just, like Jimmy said.
That's one of the reasons why you play the way you do.
Yeah.
The way you, eventually became to play because of Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I
have that
so
soulful
much.
thing. You don't have that, you know, kind of normal kind of bass player guy. I guess that is funny. No, the thing is, that's true. That's how he affected. That's how deeply he affected people that played with him, especially in the rhythm section. Because you knew instinctively. You and I would play sessions later, you know, that had nothing to do with Jesse, and yet he was there. That thing, that foundation that we both were affected by was there.
Yeah, you didn't
that's-
want to let him down, even if
Yeah.
he wasn't there in the band,
Right.
because the way he was the arranger in that Taj Mahal band on that. You know,
Yes.
I won't say he told everyone what to play, but he might have told, Gary and Chuck what not to play, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know if he, for a fact, but
Yeah.
he liked to say that he was, he played piano on some of the records too. He was kind of an in-charge guy, but very quietly and soulfully. He didn't
Yeah.
beat you over the head with his knowledge or anything. He just had this innate sense how to lead a band very quietly with very few words said.
Yeah.
Just with his leadership and the way he played.
Yeah.
You wanted to fit in that and not really
Right.
step on it
Just-
or let him down. I don't know. So, yeah, it means a lot, still talking about him here in 2026. It does mean a lot, it does. I think about him all the time, I met him right down the road here at his little beach crib, and those are days I remember fondly. I don't like to look back that often, live in the now and all that, but I remember him nothing but fondly. I don't like to remember too much the other stuff.
The things that we could say,
No.
we're not going to
No.
say.
No, I don't go there
We just
anymore.
don't need to go there.
We're celebrating.
So I've said it by
music.
saying that.
Yeah. We're celebrating Jesse's life. We're celebrating Jesse's music and legacy. The fact that it is 2026, and we're all here, and you're all saying in one way or another, this one guy influenced your playing and your artistry. That's extraordinary. Doug, I want to turn things back over to you. You've had the pleasure of chatting with all these gentlemen far more when you were doing your years of research on the book. Of course, you delve into, I'm the Dylan Center guy, so I have to mention Watching the River Flow and When I Paint My Masterpiece, perhaps not accidentally, two songs which Dylan is still keeping in his repertoire. So I just want to put out there. That's a double-sided magic single right there of a band just finding the groove and backing Dylan so beautifully. But Doug, maybe bring us home in this discussion with everything we've learned from these gentlemen and your thoughts on Jesse tonight.
Well, I was just thinking, listening to Bob and Jim talk a moment ago, I was thinking about Watching the River Flow and those sessions. 1971, Blue Rock Studios in New York. Jesse, Jim Keltner, Carl Radel, Leon Russell, Bob Dylan. Maybe we should ask Jim about how that got started. But one thing I was reflecting on is listening to Shark. Everybody described Jesse as a player. He wasn't a person who was like pushing his way to the front to be seen and heard. I can think of lots of examples. Like I think there's like this live set of the Stones in '75 at the LA Forum, and Jesse's up there playing Sympathy for the Devil with them. Man, you got to have headphones on, and you got to really know how to hear a mix to pick out what Jesse's doing in there. And I'm interested in that maybe as a question more than a statement, but back to '71, Watching the River Flow, When I Paint My Masterpiece, and you all did like 8 or 9 other numbers in there that day. And I hear Jesse play a different guitar solo opening and the main slot in Watching the River Flow in like 16 different takes. And he was just in there, not afraid and not shy to.
Are you saying there were 8 other songs recorded that day?
It's incredible stuff. Yeah, I got to hear them.
You've heard that, seen it?
I heard the between song, Leon telling Dylan, let's try it as a shuffle. I mean, I heard everything.
I see. I see.
Well, y'all did a bunch of standards, a bunch of old Johnny Cash tunes and so forth.
When you play with Bob,
Yeah.
you can expect all those kinds of things.
Well, tell us about that, Jim, that day. Yeah.
The first time I met Bob Dylan was that day. And I knew Leon, obviously, and Carl and I were in Gary Lewis and the Playboys together, and he's from Tulsa. And we're all from Tulsa. Jesse, except for Jesse, he's from Norman. That's close enough to Tulsa. Anyway, so here we are, all these Tulsa guys. and meeting up with Bob. And I know Bob loved that, but Bob is not going to show it. So that's fine. And like I said, I did not know Bob. And so before we actually got the actual take, I think, on Watching the River, we were in listening to a playback, and there was an awkward moment of silence, like, and those were the days before I learned, you know, to let the awkward moments of silence be awkward, and don't make it worse by saying something stupid. I didn't know that. I had to learn those things, especially at a Bob Dylan session, you know. So anyway, I proceeded to, we're standing there and Bob isn't saying anything, and we just heard a playback, and nobody said they liked it or anything, and I loved it, but I wasn't going to say that. So I said, so Bob, I hear you have like 8 kids or something like that. and the thing about Bob is that, and Bob was one of, I hate to sound precocious or whatever that is, but Bob is one of my closest friends to this day, right? So I say this as a deep, good friend of his. He was, in those days he would be, I said this, and then I said something else because he didn't answer. And I'm just talking, and he's not even looking at me. He's like totally ignoring me, and I could see Leon twisting in his seat, like, shut up, Jim. Don't make it worse, man. And I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it because I thought maybe he would say something. He said not a word. But to get to the song, that is one session that I do remember vividly, that Bob was at one point was standing at the wall like this, facing the wall this close. He's like this at the wall, and I'm playing drums back here, where in those days, the good old days, there was leakage was your friend. So there's no baffles and people moving behind things and stuff. So I'm watching him, and he's standing there like this, and I could see his mouth moving, and then I would see him write something, and then he would do it again, and then I realized he was writing the freaking song while we were there at this, watching the river flow, right? And that you gotta love that, and then the fact that you're in the room with Leon. Leon was another one like Jesse Ed. You couldn't do anything wrong as long as Leon was there playing. You couldn't go wrong. Jesse Ed, the same thing. Ridiculous, And then you had Carl. Carl was like, they called him the mad professor because he was the lookout when we were getting high, different places, in hotels and things back in those crazy days. He would be the one that would call us, okay, they're coming, he's coming. And then we'd try to, clean the room and stuff. Those days we stood on the toilet to smoke, and real innocent kind of silly stuff. But he was our lookout, and he was just an amazing, gifted musician. And he was from Tulsa, and whatever that DNA thing is, I think it was good, and I think it was real. But when we nailed the song and went in to hear the playback, Bob still didn't have any reaction, but it didn't matter to me. At that point, I knew that we had just cut one of his. I didn't even know his catalog really. Like everybody knows Bob Dylan's music and everything, except me. He's one of my closest friends, but I don't know his early stuff very much because I just never dug into it, and I it's kind of regretful. But the stuff that really means something to me, I hear it and I love it, but anyway, the point is that he loved it. A lot. And then when I paint my masterpiece, that was just just really beautiful. Just, I mean, a typical Bob Dylan song with the words that just stick in your mind forever. And so after that, we did a lot of stuff together, you know. Jesse and my only regret is that Leon had to go and live another kind of life. He had to be a solo artist. You know, he wasn't just this guy that made other artists come alive and stuff like he did. He wanted to be the guy himself, right? And so he did, and that separated us all, because you either had to be in his band, you know, and go on tour, which I couldn't do. So I lost contact with Leon for a long time. And then Jesse, I would just see here and there at sessions. And I'll say one last thing. I think the day that I heard, the night or whenever it was, that I heard that John was shot and died, I think that was the very day that Jesse died.
Because they had such a close
inside.
friendship.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a whole other night on Leon Russell, who's the patron saint of Tulsa. Jim, thanks for sharing, for claiming not to remember anything. That was a really good recounting of that session.
I do remember that one. Some things, you know.
We've got to get to. We've got an indie legend in the house, Scott McCoy, who's gonna play some songs for us. But any final words from Van Dyke, as you've been hearing all these esteemed gentlemen talk? Can you close out for us?
Jim said something that I think is essential. There is a tendency to hesitate. When I say we should honor someone in his time, this is what was, to me, a vacuum which sucked the wind out of my lungs when Jesse had died, because he had so much to do. And there was an immediacy to his laid-back attitude. And we should not hesitate. We see what the political results are. We must flap that left wing, and we must, because the right wing has been flapping too damn long. And we must be, and there was an activist in this laid-back attitude of Jesse Ed, and which is a testament to his great grace. And I just believe that this brings out this lesson in humility and agility. We need to keep our eye on the sparrow, and to me he stands as a totem, no pun intended, to our purpose here in keeping him alive.
Hey.
Amen.
Hey, is Bill Maxwell still here?
Oh, Billy Maxwell is here?
You know, I saw him in the audience, but I think he left.
Oh, no.
Did he leave? Oh, I wanted to give him a shout out. I spotted him from sitting up here right when we got up here. But he's a great drummer from Tulsa, right?
Yeah,
who played with Jesse.
OKC.
Killer drummer, one of the great drummers of all time, Billy Maxwell.
Yep. Yeah, he and
I can't
Jesse
believe that
played
he was
together
here
when they were kids. He was here. I spotted him, but I didn't get to talk to him.
Well, I heard him mention his name, but I didn't. I thought, no, he's not here.
Anyway, I wanted to give him a shout out.
I didn't get to see him either. I mentioned him because I knew he's coming. But great Bill Maxwell played with Jesse in his high school and college bands.
Yeah, one of the really great musicians of our time.
So this has been extraordinary to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Thank you, Steve.
Mark Shark, Van Dyke Parks, Bob Glaub, Jim Keltner, Elliot Easton, Doug Miller, who made this all happen. And thank you all. We got our buddy Scott McCoy here. He's going to round out tonight's program. What a beautiful night. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. Scott's going to round things out. Come out to Tulsa. We'll celebrate more out there. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Yeah, the other people.
Can we get up?
my brother.
Marks, I have my picture taken with me, and I use my laptop.
Stay on case. Stuff to do.
First of all, look at that short skirt.
That's what they told me in the studio. Watch the cord.
But he is taking walks. He just got back from the walk.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Bob.
Yes.
I'm Jessica Coslow, Ira Coslow's
Oh,
daughter.
hi, Jessica. Hi, how's your dad?
Oh, you know, he's
Is he hanging in there?
Yeah, he's hanging in there. He's falling out of bed. I just got
You know, I saw a picture of him on social media.
Yeah.
Maybe 6, 8, 10 months ago. In the last year.
Yeah.
And he looked a little bit like he's gotten old too
Yes,
fast.
yes.
Did he have some kind of
No, he's just, no, nothing like that.
Oh.
He's just kind of.
Yeah, he was kind of standing
Yes.
like this.
No, he's
you
just
know,
getting
like
old.
old guys.
Yeah.
Oh, he's close to 80. He's
Yes,
got
81. Yes. These are my friends. These are my friends Saffron and Leslie.
Saffron?
Saffron.
Oh, I love that name. Hi, Saffron. And Leslie, one of my daughter's middle names.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, when I saw your name, I was like, my dad knows him.
Oh, yeah, your mom and dad. And
Yeah,
your mom's
Gail.
okay? Gail?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, they're
He's
struggling.
taken care of. Are they still living down here?
Yeah, down there,
They're
right?
down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I've been over their house. Well, thanks for saying
Yeah.
hi.
Oh my God, that was
And
great.
you're doing great?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah. Are you the only daughter? No,
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
I'm the only daughter, and then there's a son. Gail has a son.
Gail has
Yeah.
a son.
Is the son okay for me to come to Yeah. No, I will. I totally will. Yes. Okay. Yeah, he has a new documentary out. No.
Well, I saw a limited, I saw like
Yeah, no. Yeah, you talk. You make
There's a friend of mine. Hi,
You're sorry to interrupt. No, it's okay. All right.
So what's the boys out here?
The boys
Okay, Anyway, please give Ira my love. I had so many good times with them. And your mom's a doll.
No, I know he has to,
Is she retired?
Yep.
From-
Yep, they're retired. They're at home all the time.
Oh, send him my love. I thought of him just last week because, I don't know if he and Peter left on good terms.
No, they're on good terms.
Yeah.
They are on good terms.
But Peter's, it was an odd thing. His show is fabulous. If
The
you ever get,
documentary.
no, his,
His traveling
live show.
Yes.
Is fabulous.
Oh,
He's
my
such a
dad
great
went to it.
raconteur, such a storyteller
Well, I heard him
extraordinaire.
on the Terry Gross, right?
Oh,
He did the
yeah.
Fresh Air show.
Yeah, he's a great storyteller.
Yes. And I didn't know all that thing about his sister.
Oh yeah, well
dating
it's all
Paul
it's all in the
Yeah, no,
documentary.
I know. It's great. It's
It's
great.
fabulous. The documentary is fabulous. But when I saw him last week, it was odd because I went to a VIP before, before the show, get the meet and greet kind of Q&A people. Well, I didn't go for that, but I wanted to say hi, and it seemed like he didn't recognize me.
No.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe just his social
He was always a
social
little-
skills are a little.
was
He's
always-
kind of like on the spectrum.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
like Asperger's or
No,
something.
he really
right?
was, yeah.
So maybe just the way he said hello to me, I felt more like I was going to get a hug.
Yeah,
like,
no.
from you.
No, he's very
he doesn't
withdrawn.
have that.
No, he's
Sure.
very
So
withdrawn.
maybe it was
Absolutely.
that. Maybe
That's a
he's on
great
the spectrum
idea.
and just
Great
like
idea.
him saying, oh, hi.
No,
was the way his
I,
thing came
yeah,
up.
I knew him for all those years. I felt like never warm.
Yeah.
Not warm, you know,
No,
very- yeah,
but he's
reserved.
funny.
Okay,
This is doing the live stream.
we're on the
Oh.
live.
No, you're good.
Sorry,
You're good.
we're
Live
live
stream.
streaming.
We're right in front of
You got everything you need over there?
I know. I am shocked too. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, this is great. All right. Okay. All
Right. So Bob was the first one to give me a song. Here's a bit example. So when I'm talking to these other artists, getting involved, this is recorded. So tell me what you've got. And I go, well, I'm doing some band. All of those. You mean this whole band? I think, what? I go, yes, just like that. He goes, great. I got on the phone with Bruce Springsteen. I said, I got John singing this whole band. Bruce goes, you mean like this whole band? What? Everybody on this album. And they're doing singing this whole band. I produced this album.
Don't forget, I need the guitar through the wedge too. When you get a chance.
It's just, it's got like 21 superstars. Elton John. That's what I said. I mean, it's really oh, thank you. It's like, believe me, it was a labor of love. And everybody
So when did you get Jesse
and Jackson Browne, you know, all these guys. But they want to shift over to the first.
Yeah, come on over to the great panel.
Yeah, sure. I will. Of course I will. It's looking forward to being. Well, this was really special, man. We loved it. We loved it. Yeah. I'll turn you into this album. It's great. Nice to meet you. Congratulations. All right, good night, everybody. Good night, Bob. It was great to see you. We have to get together.
Steve.
There we go. Thank you. All right, I'm going to play a few songs here. Make it quick. Get to hear this, have the slideshow. That'll be great. Get just to go on and party down. Going to start with a song that Jesse wrote for Taj Mahal. It's called My Captain. This is a song for my captain who leads me on my way, whose righteous soul and music is the only way he knows how to play. There's some who say his heart is black and cold, but I know it's just as pure as gold. Oh, Captain, oh, my Captain, if you hear this song for you, please know that it comes from my soul. There's some who say his heart is black and cold, but I know it's just as pure as gold. Oh, Captain, oh, my Captain, if you hear this song for you, please know that it comes from my soul. Oh, Captain, oh, my Captain, if you hear this song for you, please know that it comes from my soul, my soul, my soul. Thank you. If you get a chance to hear that song, it's on the second Jesse Davis album, Ululu, and Leon Russell's piano solo will just make you cry. It's so beautiful. So, I first heard Jesse Davis in 1969. I was 15 years old. I went to see a show at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds, and Taj Mahal was on the bill. And this band was just so amazing. It just knocked me out. And I was like, who is that fucking guy playing guitar? And that was Jesse Davis. And anyway, I became a lifelong fan of him and his solo records and all the other things he did. But this is a song I wrote about him or for him. And Cody Blackbird is going to join with me on it, and we'll see what happens. One, two, three, four. Bacon fat in Oklahoma, long and far away. Kiowa kid with Twitty, new 330 bought. Finally found himself a telephone out in LA. Levon and Leon helped him get his session shot. And I wonder which bird he had heard singing, just play the notes that sound good when it mattered. Santa Clara Fairgrounds in 1969. I saw him then with Taj, and he blew my mind. Lights and wires buzz me, a junior Frankenstein. Rock and soul machine, perfect by design. And I wondered what was scattered, like those blue notes and red sparks flew inside. Oh, to me it mattered. On my 17th birthday with George and Ringo in NYC. Coolest cat in the garden, hair and blazer black. Later found a friend in John, but it don't come that easy. A shadow follows, becomes too dark to get back. And I wonder how it got sadder, and why dreams find us don't always last a night, but they still matter. Cody. 1985, he said, yeah, I used to be me. Walls can start to crumble, bridges can crack. Graffiti man, brave wood smoking in his strings and keys. You never know when a trickster pulls you down a track. And I wonder why I'm still shattered. Do we give it up? Do we fight the light? But it still matters. Thanks a lot. Thank you. All right. Mark Shark. Yeah. Will join me here. Yeah. We're going to do a song called Tulsa County that Jesse did on his first solo record. It's a song written by Pamela Poland. And Jesse kind of did his own take on it. It sounds to me kind of like he'd heard it a few times and just decided to play it. And that's what I love about his solo records. They're so freewheeling, and they just sound like they really had a great time when they were making them. This is one that Pamela, I'm friends with her, and I wrote her and told her I was doing this show, and she said, well, say hi to Van Dyke Parks for me. And I did, and he was very happy about it. And she goes, I bet Jim Keltner won't even remember me. Probably right. Well, we'll see. Anyway, this is a song. It's been done by the Byrds. It's been done by lots of bands. But so this is my version. It's kind of Jesse's. It's kind of Pamela's. It's kind of the Byrds. But it's see what you think. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. My nights have been lonely since sorry, let's do it one more time. A little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. My nights have been lonely since I've been in Tulsa County, and I really don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess that I will mosey down along the southern border, 'cause I feel I got to get away from you. I don't know just where I'll go. I guess I'll ride it down to Mexico. Down to Mexico. I got your note in Charleston that you needed my assistance. But when you came out, you didn't need me then. I may not be a wise man, but I know the life I'm living. Got your help from lots of other men. don't know just where I'll go. I guess I'll ride it down to Mexico. Down to Mexico. All right. You say that you love me, like you're feeling God just sorry, but you've got to lie to keep this fool around. If I stay, I know that I will just be here to laugh at, 'cause there's nothing else to keep me in this town. I don't know just where I'll go. I guess I'll ride it down to Mexico. Down to Mexico. I don't know just where I'll go. I guess I'll ride it down to Mexico. Down to Mexico. Here we go. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Tulsa County. Here's one off of Keep Me Coming that it's really just a beautiful, beautiful song that Jesse wrote. That you played this, all right, didn't you? Yeah, all right, cool. This is called Where Am I Now When I Need Me? Okay. 1, 2, wait, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Morning sun arising on an empty avenue. No surprising, memorizing faces I once knew. There's a stranger in the mirror, seems familiar, like a sketch that I once drew. I thought time was my partner, now my clock is frozen, or so it seems. Left me stranded, rearranging all of my dreams. There's a stranger in the mirror, seems familiar, like a sketch that I once drew. Where am I now when I need me? Where am I now when I need me? I've been living for myself, I've been around, or so it seems. Used to be my own best friend, was me. There's a stranger in the mirror, it seems familiar, like a sketch that I once drew. Where am I now that I need me? Where am I now when I need me? Where am I 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 when I need me? Thanks a lot. It's a great song. All right, going to finish up now with a song they were talking about earlier, a Bob Dylan song. I did this set at the exhibit for Jesse November a year ago or something, and I thought, well, I should do a Dylan song, so I picked one of the ones that he played on, and I wasn't going to do it tonight, but Doug Miller and Steve Jenkins said, no, you got to do it. So this is going to be When I Paint My Masterpiece. And thanks for everybody coming. And this is a great, amazing thing. I'm really happy to be here and feel really lucky to be even vaguely associated in any way with Jesse Ed Davis. Thank you. Of Rome are filled with rubble. Ancient footsteps are everywhere. You can almost think that you're seeing double on a cold dark night on the Spanish stairs. Gotta hurry on back to my hotel room, where I've got me a date with Botticelli's niece. She promised me that she'd be there with me when I paint my masterpiece. Oh, the hours I spent inside the Coliseum, dodging lions, wasting time. Oh, those mighty kings of the jungle, I could hardly stand to see them. Yes, it sure has been a long, hard climb. Train wheels running through the back of my memories, when I ran on the hilltop following a pack of wild geese. Someday, everything is gonna be smooth like a rhapsody when I paint my masterpiece. Sailing around the world in a dirty gondola. Oh, to be back in the land of Coca-Cola. I left Rome and landed in Brussels on a plane ride so bumpy that I almost cried. Clergymen in uniform and young girls pulling muscles. Everyone was there to greet me when I stepped inside. Newspaper men eating candy had to be held down by big police. Someday, everything is gonna be different when I paint my masterpiece. Oh, someday, everything is gonna be smooth like a rhapsody when I paint my masterpiece. Thanks a lot, everybody. Let's go hang out. Thank you very much. All right. Cody Blackbird, Mark Shark. Yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Yeah, would have been really lonely up here. All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Cool.